Hello and welcome to HanaMate. In this video, I want to show you how I create my favorite junk journals. Favorite right now. It's about size 4x4. I'm using any type of scrap paper and then I attach them together with a small rings. So I hoarded, I kept many pieces of paper and leftovers from different projects. Now I'm tearing them into strips and I will attach them to that large strip that you see, which is a plain craft paper that I think came from larger booklet, and I turn it into large strip with the width of 4 inches because, oh yes, 4 inches, because that's the size I'm going to work with, 4x4, right? So basically I figured that um, using large strip and just slapping different torn strips of paper is kind of what I'm going after anyhow. You can do it separately or you can do this like that. I like to be efficient. I like to work hard and create a lot while watching a show, listening to podcasts, and not using my brain much. So in this case, I mixed Mod Podge liquid with water and I am attaching different strips. I tore them and I'm overlapping them, right? And then eventually when it dries I do other side and then I chop it down to 4x4 squares. I will, because this video is very long, I will just talk and talk and talk and talk and try to share some tips with you. I sped up all the videos that lead to the final product on the end, and I think I have some decent experience by now and some tricks that I can share. And if you have the patience to listen to me, you will hopefully fall in love with junk journaling and being creative. So this is pretty straightforward. I think that if you are into this, you already know many things, or you may just enjoy kind of watching what I'm doing very fast and giving you some tips. So junk journaling, as the word says, is basically using junk to create journals. I don't like that word. It's not my popular because junk by itself has got kind of negative feeling in it about it. But I do understand what the reasoning behind it is, and that means that you are recycling any type of paper, sometimes even fabric and other materials, and reusing them in something else. So you're kind of upcycling, really. But I love this type of message because there is really so much paper and old books available, and it is shame to throw them out, especially since some of them are really cool and can be reused. So junk journaling is something that I recently fell in love with, and I love making different junk journaling pages, different sizing junk journals. Do you see? That's pretty cool, right? I'm quite happy. So once it dries, I do other side and then I chop it down to 4x4 squares. So the first video, I was totally disorganized, right? I just attached anything I found in my box. However, I realized that I need to be a little bit more efficient and somewhat I don't mind repeating some pattern, right? That on each page I don't mind seeing similar colors. I actually like kind of the consistency. So for this second strip, I actually got organized and I tore different strips of paper. So I'm tearing them to about 1 inch width and a little bit over 4 inches long, because my strip is 4 inches wide, right? So I don't mind little overlap, and then when I cut it, it'll be nice and consistent edges, and yeah, that's the way I'm doing it. Anyhow, that's pretty straightforward. I don't want to, share too many details because I think it is really straightforward. Um, I am using Mod Podge because I love this product. It is basically glue and varnish in one. It is very easy to work with. It stings just a little bit and the smell is actually very nice. And it is super easy to work with. However, and by the way, there are many types. I think 32, 36 I read somewhere. So there's indoor, outdoor, for fabric, for paper, gloss, matte, whatever. Tons of different finishes. All of them are great. I think I use the indoor one. I like matte finish. I don't like things when they're too glossy. It looks like somebody licked all over it. Not sure if you paid attention, but I made the other strip much faster. So once it dried out, I am cutting off the edge, right, to 4 inches width. I find it easy just to use scissors because I'm going to glue the strips on the other side and then I can trim it to the right side. So I'm keeping a little tiny bit bigger than the 4 inches. But so it's dry, I'm going to do the other side. I talked about Mod Podge. I love using it. I like the smell. Few tips. If it gets too hard, you can add a little bit of water. And I actually find that when you add a little bit of water to it, it is kind of the dry product is a little bit more pliable, almost like a leather. I mix it well and then I use it up. It dries very fast, which is fantastic. It is great, but make sure you wash your brush well. Um, you can also use glue. I did use the cheap kids glue before and it seems to be very sticky. So I do prefer Mod Podge. By the way, it's not expensive. You can really get it. Sorry about my head. That didn't work out. Um, so I'm attaching strips to the other side. As you can see, I have about maybe 10 different patterns and I'm somehow doing, repetitive kind of pattern. But you don't have to overthink it. The important part is to have fun with it. Also, when you tear the strips, you will have different edges, right? So if you tear kind of it, imagine you're holding something in two hands, and if you tear it up, you will have mm, different edge than if you tear it down. Once you use colored paper, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I do like, for some projects, the edge that you can see the white torn paper, and for some I prefer to hide it. But that's totally up to you. It is, by the way, junk journaling. This is just base for the page, and eventually you will add some quotes, wording, pictures, edging, maybe even more patterns. So please don't really overthink what you are using for the basic. I was pleased to use all my leftovers or the papers that I hoarded for a while and I thought, hey, they're pretty useful and cool, I can use them. I do like using wording, but kind of in limited amount. So but it's up to you. I just wanted to show you. I think you can see that some are words and some are colors and different patterns. I do like using soft paper because it soaks the glue or the Mod Podge easily, and then there are kind of no wrinkles. Some people may prefer actually the texture, and that's fine. It's up to you. I prefer to work with thinner paper, like dictionary papers are nice and thin and fantastic. Tissue paper, even better. So then when everything dried, I chopped off the edges, right, to make it width 4 inches. And now I have large strips, or large, whatever, 18 inch, and I'm cutting it to 4 by 4. I have little marks there to kind of, when I'm working in bulk and I get distracted in the kitchen by the family or work or other things, it's nice if you remember what you were doing. So I have actually little permanent marks on my fancy cutter. You can use any kind of cutter you like. You can use scissors, whatever works for you. I bought this cutter at the thrift store. It was very cheap. It is very low tech and I love it. The great part about using Mod Podge is that actually glue will work too, that it really seals the paper to the paper that you're attaching it to. And because I made the strips basically bigger, now when I cut it, I have perfectly fused edges. This is just all the samples that I had there. As you can see, it's tons of variety of different paper. It's very exciting already. I love it, love it, love it. And I do have to admit, I actually love working on the background pages. So here I have actually one more sheet that I created before I was working with the strips. That was just a larger piece of paper and I used the same method, right? The collage method basically. But I eventually learned that working with the strips is much better. I wanted to sneak this in so you guys know what I was talking about. So by the way, the best part about using this collage method is that you can use any type of leftovers or documents and papers that you already have at home. I do like this hobby or creative outlet because I can use many items that we have or we already used. As you can see, when I do those big sheets, I kind of had to use my brain a little bit and follow some type of pattern. But as I said before, it doesn't really matter what you do, how it looks like, because eventually, when you are finishing each individual page, you add so much that you will realize that the background is, um, or the design, the pattern of the background is not as important. That said, depends what you do, right? What your product is and how much you cover, how many embellishments you add. I always love to add at least few quotes. I always like to add at least few pictures and some edging, kind of like aged look. That's my favorite. I use inking, stamping ink, and because when I use the Mod Podge, I do want to make sure that it sticks. So I use permanent one. It's called StazOn, or that's the one brand I'm using. So this is the next step when everything is dry, everything is prepared, and I'm just basically creating holes in the individual sheets of paper, and I will, I call it binding, that's not probably a proper word, but I attach them together with the small metal rings, and you can either use individual rings or you can use what I'm using, which is three rings that are attached with a little spine. I love using them because they are kind of making everything a little bit more stable. Um, I use one hole puncher, or you can use the kind of the hole puncher that has got 6 holes in it, and I can adjust the size. The one that you can see, it's not the regular type, right? This is little specified that I was willing to invest into. Um, you just saw me doing two different methods. Either I pre-cut one piece of paper and then I cut the holes, or I can draw the holes and cut them. And this is my final way how to hold the pages together, even though it is more embellishment rather than practical ribbon. I basically tie ribbon or elastic to the spine of the rings, and then I attach it. So that way, when the journal is closed, I can tie it, and when I want to open it, I untie it, right? And the ribbon will stay on. You just saw me creating kind of fancy end of the ribbon. It looks like I guess almost like the end of snake's tongue. I just fold it and cut it on angle, on 45-degree angle, so that way you have nice finish rather than straight finish. But that's up to you. And of course, you can imagine the potential of attaching different types of ribbons or elastics. The other thing I do actually that you don't see here is I attach little tassels, kind of metal tassels, so you can use fabric ones, whatever. It's just so nice on the journal and it makes it a little special. You can use them almost like a bookmark, right? So as you can see, that was pretty well uh, presented actually, because the ribbon made a little bow. And then I eventually, when I feel like it, I am going to play with different quotes and pictures and embellishments. This is just one example to show you how the journal may look like, right? How the finished pages. So even though right now you're looking at the pages and what's there, and you see whatever 8, 9 different strips, and as I mentioned before, when you are putting it together, don't overthink it, just go for it, because once you add other embellishments over it, you basically will totally ignore the background. But that doesn't mean that the background is not important, right? I hope you know what I mean now, but there's tons and tons of potential what can be added, and I do think that perfection is truly an enemy of any progress. This is all leftovers that I have that I can use for other junk journals. I don't remember how many strips I made total, maybe 8. And this is all the pages that I'm going to have for my junk journals. I'm not going to pre-cut them right now because I may change my mind and do only one ring or two rings or use them for something else. But I wanted to show you how much can be created from just few hours of creativity and how much paper I used. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you like my ideas, follow me, subscribe, or you can watch me on Instagram, on Facebook. Thank you for watching, Hannah Mate.